All right, folks, we have today Ben the CoinGeek from the Ben the CoinGeek YouTube channel. Is that the actual name of your YouTube channel, or did I get it
YouTube
wrong?
channel is actually just the Coin Geek, although I was trying to get onto, there's another platform called Rumble that someone, I think I had to put Ben the Coin Geek. I'm not actually uploaded any videos there yet, but anyway, long story. The Coin Geek is the name of the YouTube channel, but
Yeah.
usually all my intros say Ben the Coin Geek, and that's also, I think, okay.
Okay. We can talk a little bit about how you came up with that name, but so just a little bit of intro. So Ben runs a very, very successful YouTube channel. Those of my channel know I'm just kind of getting into this and just getting started. I'm trying to do a little bit of a podcast format, trying to create content, add value to all my collectors and the viewers out there, teach people about the coin market specifically. It's one of the major topics I really enjoy is the coin market specifically. And Ben also runs a shop in Tucson, Arizona. So Ben, just give us a short little summary of your background in numismatics, how you got into coin collecting and this coin business, and what you do today in terms of content as well as your business.
Coin collecting started when I was 10, and I was there's a little swap shop next to our house. So that's like on weekends, the guy would open these barn doors and he had just like stuff, right? I think Antiques Roadshow kind of thing. And he had a little wooden chest and it had a bunch of foreign coins in it. And I was hooked. And then I started, my dad was nice enough to take me to several coin shops around town when he had time. And then, in high school, no, in college, I actually started working at Old Pueblo Coin that I own now. In 1997, founder Rob, Mr. Coin Man, he had said, it's time for him to retire. And I ended up buying the business from him. And that's like the short version.
Yeah, I've been in Old Pueblo Coin because I used to live in Phoenix, actually. I lived there for 2 years, and I drove down to Tucson. I've stopped into Old Pueblo Coin Exchange. Pretty neat little coin shop, I will say. A lot of traffic through there. Remember, I came there one time. You guys do like a monthly raffle, not raffles,
No,
but like
we
the
have
coin
the bid
board?
we have the bid boards every weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously, we're close between Christmas and New Year's. There's Thanksgiving weekend, but for the most part, probably 49 Saturdays out of the month, out of the year, there's a bid board going on. And so we got coffee and donuts on Saturdays.
Oh, coffee and donuts. Okay,
Yeah.
might make it worth
And
a
bid
flight
board
out there.
And it's worth it.
Yeah, so for people that don't know what a bid board is, can you explain just a little bit about how this operates, what it does? Are there deals, opportunities? What exactly is a bid board?
So a bid board is basically a silent auction. It is like the coin dealer's universe version of pre-eBay, where we take a little card and you put a coin on, staple it in a flip. You put the description and the grade and the catalog value and what the opening bid is, and people are assigned a bidder's number, and so they can bid on it. And it's, as far as what it does, for me, it gets people engaged and interested in the hobby. We'll have a variety of things from tokens and metals to paper money, U.S. world coins, just a wide array of things. And so it's really a fun way to introduce people to the hobby. And of course, like I said, on Saturdays when the boards come down, we put all new boards up. We have coffee and donuts. It's a little bit like a church fellowship, the sacrilegious way to put that. But it's a great way to meet other collectors.
Do you guys sing any hymns together or no?
Well, I would probably be mostly singing Irish drinking songs, but I'm trying to think, trust me, I've had plenty of times when I wanted to very much so do Weird Al coin related stuff, but like I just don't have that talent. I'm good at some things, and it's not there. Nice. But it's a good time, and it's actually great for the collector community. Most of the local shops have some version of that, even if it's only one or two boards. Yeah.
What's been the most interesting or most valuable coin that you've seen on a bid board?
So the bid boards, oh man. So we don't put real expensive coins up there, generally speaking. You'll see lots of stuff that's going to be in that kind of, $5 to $75 range.
Okay. Makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, and so just for exposure, because it's just kind of open and out there kind of thing.
Yeah.
But definitely, I've seen guys cherry pick boards with some good stuff. If the guys who are looking for varieties like micro S's or micro O's and things like that, I don't think I've ever seen anyone like cherry pick a 55 double die or something. But I've definitely seen some guys get some finds on bid boards. So it could probably still happen. Just depends on who you've got running your bid board and how much experience they have with coins.
Yeah, it's an interesting aspect. You don't think of a silent auction taking place or that there be that much interest, but there is. I mean, the reality is a lot of business happens online nowadays, and they have something like that. It's obviously harkening back to kind of older era, but people, I'm sure, still love it to still walk in and to take a look and see if you can possibly cherry pick something on the bid board. And obviously it creates a lot of traffic within the store, which is great. What are some of the day-to-day challenges of running a coin shop, a physical coin shop, with so much happening online?
Yeah.
What is it like?
It's difficult. I mean, it's stressful. And of course, at the same time, it's fun. I relate it to like parenting. There are things about it that are very difficult. You get the opportunity to deal with the federal government, the state government, the city government, the county government, and all of their tendrils. And that's just such a glorious opportunity. And then you've got your employees and stuff. So, which is, we have awesome people here, which is what makes the place great. It's always what's made the place great. And at the same time, though, there's just so many moving parts. And to the end of your statement talking about the new market, that's been one of the hardest transitions, as we've gone from a shop that was very much just local to a shop that is selling a lot of stuff on our website and trying to figure out how to do this social media stuff and be engaged in an entirely new way, basically.
Yeah. What is the general vibe like within the shop? Who typically, walks in the door? Do you guys specialize in anything, or you just kind of do a little bit of everything?
Well, yeah, we're kind of old school, what you'd call a generalist kind of shop.
Mm-hmm.
So if people come in, of course, we're going to have a little bullion area because, people are still doing bullion. And then, but we have trays of raw stuff out, in US and world and paper money. And so it's a very traditional vibe. We'll have like some supplies in the corner kind of thing. You can still buy the old school, folders that you can push coins into if you,
Oh, wow.
beginner. We have a quarter box. So in the middle of the store, we've got this big, wood box that people can dig through, and it's mostly full of world coins, and they can buy coins for a quarter. And that's just kind of a fun thing. And hopefully the vibe is just friendly and an enjoyable thing. It's like we have people that come in and they just say, this is my favorite place to come, and it's just, offering people water. Sometimes we have some extra food laying around besides donuts on Saturdays. Maybe food is partially a theme.
Yeah. And just for folks out there, when we say raw coins versus not raw, what raw means is coins that have not been encapsulated by one of the grading services. So there, Ben's pulling up some encapsulated coins. So a raw coin would be something that's not in an encapsulated holder. Typically, I don't know what I have to say. I mean, some people really like their coins to still be. I know specifically world coin collectors prefer raw coins.
Well, especially ancient collectors and ancient dealers, they're fastidious about having coins not in holders, and they'll break them out of the holders and stuff. And I've had some of them not happy with me that I have slabbed ancients. I'm like, oh, I think it's good for the hobby. I just think, for that market anyways, it's so inviting for people to be able to have, to have a coin in a holder that they love the coin, but they don't know what it is. And then here's everything you need to know is right here. And you can do more research beyond that. I find that to be the benefit of certified ancients.
Yeah. I agree. One of the things that was surprising to me when I went over to Europe was going through coin shows. Everything was raw. Everything were not in holders. It kind of gave me a little bit of an advantage, I think, in buying coins, that I wanted them to be in holders. I was looking for slapped coins because there weren't many of them, and there wasn't a lot of demand for the ones that there were. So I was able to find some good coins that I purchased well, because they weren't the way that the typical person wanted them to be, which was to be free or raw from the holder. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit about your YouTube channel, because you have a very successful YouTube channel. I think it's something around 40,000 subscribers. Is that right?
31,000, I think, as of 31,000. As of like
31,000.
But that's okay. I mean, I've always inflated my height by a little bit too, so it's okay.
We'll round up. I mean, you can round 31 up to 40. I think that's doable. How did you do it? So that's the key. I would love to know, and I'm sure people will be interested. how did you grow to over, 31,000 followers on YouTube? Was there any particular strategies, key moments, particular videos that really kind of set you off, on that trajectory?
No, I wish there was something glamorous about it, but it's like, it would be kind of silly of me to say just dumb luck, because that's not true either. There's something in between those two things of like just hard work and dumb luck. But, um, you know, I joke about the algorithm because actually we've always fancied ourselves the anti-YouTube channel. I actually think it'd be very easy for us to get to 100,000 or more viewers if we were going to play by YouTube's rules. And so we've kind of done it despite the fact that the algorithm has not been in our favor. We've really had great loyal followers that are nice enough to always kind of leave a comment and help out with the algorithm as best they can. Um, I think what attracts people to our channel is that we are not clickbait and that we are authentic. I think authenticity always wins the day. If you want to sell out just to make money, you can. It's that I find that to be pretty easy. I know lots of guys that have, they'll have 300,000 followers and they'll post videos and they'll get 3 or 4,000, 5,000 views because they did something gimmicky to start their channel or something like that. But for us, so what happened is we started during COVID, and we had a little bit extra time on our hands and started making content, and the feedback was extremely positive. So, and we just had lots of guys saying, of course, at that time, listen, I'm bored out of my mind. Thank you. Like, we need some more content like this. Yeah. So it's the combination of authenticity, and then it's, I think, approachability, and I think it's experience, right? So for me, I've been trained in this in a way already because I've been working the front counter of a coin shop for 2.5 decades. And so it's very natural for me to just talk about coins and explain things to people and educate. And I think that's a lot of what you get. So even when we're looking at coins, I'm generally not just like, wow, we got a 65, we made money and da da da. It's more like, okay, what can I distinguish for the audience, for the viewers, why this is a 5 versus a 4, or this got a 4 versus a 5. And of course, with the grading companies, it's its own thing. But outside of grading also, I try to be historical. I mean, when we're looking at stuff, for me, I'm always just bringing in the things that I find curious. And, anytime you look at a coin, it's an opportunity to look at history, to hold history, to think about how does this connect with something else. And I think there's a lot of people that collect coins for different reasons, but the historical aspect I find one that's pretty compelling for most people. It's why people enjoy the Antiques Roadshow or Pawn Stars or things like that. And so that's something that I think resonates.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And when I've gotten started specifically with Instagram, which is what really it took off for me, I started thinking about, well, how do I start creating some value for these folks? Because it wasn't just going to, I could post coins. I could say, here's some pictures and it's going to, coin is $1,000 or something. But if I started creating some content where I'm actually offering something of value, a lesson, something that they would be interested in, like, why did this coin not get a CAC sticker? Let's take a look at it and analyze it a little bit. I found that content does really, really well. And it was surprising because, what you hear when you look into, well, how do you grow your channels, is you hear about these kind of clickbaity things about an engaging title and a title card or a thumbnail that makes it look like, like you're just like, you just discovered, you're going to discover something amazing here during this podcast. And that things need to be short and they need to be punchy and there needs to be quick clips. But when I created long form content that actually was substantial, there was substance to it. We were going to go over a particular coin and we were going to talk about what made this a 65 or why this coin did not sticker or some other aspect about it or about the history of it or why these two coins they were made on the same dies, but this one's more proof-like than what this one is. These particular videos ended up doing really, really well because people actually gained some value from it. And I think there's a lot of point to that. Makes a lot of sense. So when you were growing your channel, was there a point though that it kind of really blew up, or did it kind of stay level for a while?
It's been just like a
A
constant.
steady.
It's like
Okay.
we're just putting enough content out there to Chinese torture people to death, right? With coin
Yeah.
content. Because we actually put out videos basically every day,
Yeah. Yeah. I've
which is
noticed
a
that.
lot. I mean, we've got videos going up 6 days a week, and then we actually have a member area where I put out extra content once in a while. I usually put a little, like I call it the weekend roundup. I'll put just a video out weekly for that group. And then when I'm on the road, usually I'll make some extra video content for the people who are members of the environmental. I have 2 different levels. I need to work on this. This is stuff that you start and then you don't tend to, like a garden. But one's called the environmental damage gang, and so
Okay.
that's kind of a fun play on things. So but
If I,
anyways,
oh,
as far as the growth of the channel goes, that's been just a long, slow, steady process. And I think to what you're talking about with creating content and understanding marketplaces, um, if someone just wants to write a book to be famous or wants to be famous, Instagram famous, that's all. If that's your goal, you're already, I think, off base with doing something that's valuable. And if you focus on the actual content that's going to be relevant, then it's going to reward you in other ways, right? And so
mhm.
for me, I had no ideas or plan going into this. It was like, I'm just going to keep creating content,
Mhm.
and then one day you get a call from like a John Albanese about something. And I'm like, what? So if you want to talk about like blow up moments, I didn't have any blow up moments on the channel, but for me personally, John Albanese I've never met John Albanese, right? And then this is probably a couple of years ago when there was something that I had posted and like he called the shop and I was like, oh, this is strange for me, right? And for those who don't know, he he's kind of big into the grading world. He's created this CAC stickering.
That's an
He's
understatement. That's an
It's kind of a
understatement.
big deal. But anyways, but you also, like, if you've ever talked to him, you realize that I think that he has a perspective much like I do or like you do, which is like he's not trying to be famous at anything that he's doing.
Yeah.
He's very mission driven.
Yeah.
So and so for me, I've tried to keep in mind that the goal isn't to get views. The goal is to I'm a coin ambassador. I want the hobby to succeed. I don't
Yeah.
need it to like grow by leaps and bounds, but at the same time, I want it to at a minimum maintain, but I want to leave it better than I found it, like that.
Sure.
And I think
I'm
that's
just
perspective.
yeah, go ahead. I was super curious. What did John call you about a couple of years ago? What was the topic?
Oh man.
So for those that don't know,
I
I
think
think it's safe to say he started CAC.
right. So and
Yeah.
here's one of his. This is actually a sample slab
And
from the
now,
Tucson Coin
yeah,
Show.
CAC started its own grading company.
They were
Yeah.
known for the stickering, but before that, he was involved with PCGS and I think NGC.
Mhm.
I think at the time he was calling about something I had commented on in a video about how they do things, and it was I think he was calling to clarify a couple things.
Okay.
And it's just kind of interesting, some of the different things that have happened over the years since then. Because for me, even though you can find people that have the viewership that we have, we're in the marketplace and have our pulse on the market. People who
Mhm.
watch our content are actual coin collectors, right? So whereas someone who's watching clickbait stuff, they may be doom scrolling and just like, oh, this is what is this guy talking about? Whereas people who watch our content generally are people who actually are the type of people that you'll run into at the Fun Show or
Mhm.
Baltimore or the Central State Show or your local
Mhm.
club. And I think that has a lot more value to it than having hundreds of thousands of subscribers does.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the tie between YouTube and the business. Have you found any, have you found at all that your YouTube is actually driving real business for you, like, new customers for the shop or online sales or anything from the YouTube?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, at the end of the day, that's been a real great benefit. We did very little actual internet sales. I mean, we used eBay, which is different, but before COVID and before YouTube, our internet sales were very small. And now we have a very regular stream of stuff selling off our website. And so it definitely has had that effect. It's like lots of things in life, if you were only aiming for that result, you might not have gotten it. But because you're aiming for something different, it has side effects that are greater, right? And
Sure.
there's the accumulation effect, all of that. But yeah, we've definitely seen it's much easier for us to sell stuff off our website than it was before the channel became more popular.
Yeah. And do you find a lot of these folks that are reaching out or that are, I don't know how much you connect with your customers, but are they advanced collectors or a lot of total beginners? Do you think your channel is kind of getting people into the hobby, or is it?
Well, we get everything. And one of my favorite stories is when a guy called up and he was asking about when the spot price of silver changes, does it change the price of a denarius? Okay, and so now think about that. So what it was this guy he was only a stacker. So like if you go on YouTube and you search for silver,
Yeah.
you're going to get promoted all the silver stackers channels. Every video is going to have 30,000 to 75,000 views. Where
Yeah.
a good coin channel is going to get 3,000 to 5,000 views, and if it's really good, it'll get more, right? But
Yeah.
here's a
Or if
guy
it
who
just
was a
started,
silver,
it's like 100 views.
yeah, here's a guy who's got he was a silver stacker. He found our
Uh-huh.
channel and he got interested in ancient coins. And to me, that's
That's
like
cool.
a happy day,
Yeah.
right? So he was asking to him what was an obvious question, like, well, how does this work? I don't know how this works. And so that's to me is just really cool. So, but we get very beginner collectors. We get the awesome crossover from guys who are stackers that are finding the coin industry cool.
Yeah.
And we have advanced collectors. And I did a
Yeah.
live stream once with a guy out of Colorado from his place. And it was the funniest thing is the next day, he was shocked at the people that he has as clients that reached out to him and said, "You were on Ben's show." It
Yeah.
was really another little aha moment of like, oh, okay, the type of people that are watching the content. Not only are they the beginners, but it's also guys that are buying, 4-figure, 5-figure type coins.
Yeah.
So we have a really nice broad reach. And what I found also is that appeal to coin collecting is not just mathematical or economically based, right? So, in other words, guys that collect $10,000 coins, they'll look at a cool $100 coin still, just as much as a guy who can't afford a $100 coin wants to look at a $10,000 coin.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I'm not gonna look at that stuff. There's a whole lot of crossover there that people enjoy a broad spectrum of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Just to clarify, when we say stackers, so the stacker community is going to be mainly people who like to buy bullion and they like to stack or put away American Eagles or Maple Leafs or whatever their, coin du jour is. And they put it away we call it stacking. And often, just like even how I got into coins, stacking bullion is a gateway into numismatics. I was going to ask you if you've... Yeah, go ahead. No, I was just going to ask you back on the topic of you being famous or whatever. Do you get recognized at shows?
Yes. And, well, it's funny though because I like to tell people it's they're like, you're YouTube famous. I say, well, no, I'm coin YouTube famous, which is very different than like normal YouTube famous.
Yeah,
it's very flattering and humbling, right? Like to go someplace and people want to take a picture with you. And I was like, I mean, hi, I'm Ben. Nice to meet you. Sure. Like that's
sure.
For me, that's easy because that's just, I think the biggest compliment we get is that, when I meet people in person and their response is that you're the same guy that we see.
Yeah.
So I do get recognized when I don't know that I've really been like just recognized out in public, but at coin shows, certainly, I went to Utah a few weeks ago and this is the hard thing about social media and communication, right? So I sent it out on my Instagram, on my YouTube, and we have an email, and still you'll go somewhere and people who know you and you think are like a customer or a fan or follower or whatever, they'll be like, oh, I didn't know you're going to be here. How else can should I just call everybody on? Like, I'm going to call you specifically and say, hey, I'm coming to your town.
Yeah. Well, you got my number now, so you can text me. Let me know.
That's right. That's right.
Can't be somewhere. That's funny.
So, yeah, no, but it is a real thing. It is it's very unusual, and my family laughs about it, which is good.
Nice. Where do you? We'll wrap up here in just a couple minutes.
Yeah. Sure.
So where do you see your channel going over the next few years? Is there any new formats, content, ideas you have that you're thinking about exploring?
So your lead-in question was about running a coin shop, and so one of the things that's been harder for me is we've had a lot of transitions and just trying to get things hammered down because there's like however you want to divide a coin shop up, whatever 10 or 20 areas of different work and stuff. All of those areas got a little bit busier at the same time. And pretty soon you're like holding more than you can. And that has, I think, probably slowed me down from being able to concentrate on the content creation that I would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have more ideas than I have than there's time in the day, right? So
Mm.
like ideation's a thing. I'm just like, oh, what about this? What about this?
Yeah.
Thankfully, the engineer's here to stop me from just going off the deep end when I want to post stuff. He's like, tap the brakes. But I really enjoy interviews. I want to try to create a little bit more historical content.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have plans to have a separate YouTube channel that's not coin related, just
Mm.
because there's so much out there that's so interesting, and it would just be a variety channel. Like I would be,
Yeah.
my tagline was going to be like, we talk about everything but coins here. It's like, so everything else. But coin content creation, I hope to be able to do more interview style stuff and something a little
Yeah.
bit historical style stuff. That's kind of a goal of mine.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to have you on again in the future, just to get your take from as a coin shop owner, your take on the market, your take on what you're seeing kind of
Mhm.
taking place, what kind of coins are walking into your shop, different
Mhm.
times of the year or different periods. So we can have you back again and talk more about your perspective on things. I'm excited to see where else your channel goes. And for viewers out there, if you've watched this far and you have particular subjects and things that you'd love to hear from Ben again about, put them in the comments below. It really helps out the channel, and it gives us some ideas as well of what kind of interesting things you might want to hear about. So, anyways, Ben, thank you so much for doing this. I really
Yeah, of
appreciate it.
course.
And just for folks who don't know, where can they find you? I'm assuming everybody knows,
So
but
yeah, I mean, obviously on YouTube, it's, the Coin Geek. I have an Instagram that is the Coin Geek. The shop itself is called Old Pueblo Coin. That might be getting cut off here. It's not Pueblo, Colorado. We're in Tucson, Arizona. Old Pueblo Coin. We have oldpueblocoin.com. Also, TucsonCoinShow.com. So we have an annual show in Tucson, which I
Mhm.
think is going to grow into something that's kind of different and nice. I like to tell people it is Scottsdale nice at a Tucson price. And for any of you who
Nice.
are Arizonans, you'll understand the reference. Everyone else, you just have to imagine it. An Old Pueblo coin. We also have Old Pueblo coin on Instagram. So,
Yeah.
it's hard because there's like 10,000 social media things. I feel basically like a NASCAR driver. I should be like, I like to thank my, and you name all this stuff, and then you get to
Sure.
say what you want to say. So
Yeah.
it's good. No,
Well,
I
I'll
appreciate
definitely.
you
Yeah.
having me on here for sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely try to list as many of your socials in the description of this episode, so people know where to find you. And yeah, all right, man. Well, thank you so much. It's been 30
All
minutes.
right.
I'd love to do this again, and it's been
Got it.
wonderful. So appreciate it
All
so
right. Thanks,
much.
Tony.
All right, I'll see you. Thank
Here,
you.
cheers.